Hi everyone and welcome to Lipstick on a Rig. Today we're going to be making this very textured beanie. For this project I'm going to be using size 4 medium weight acrylic yarn, and this is just the Big Twist Value brand. I'm also going to be using a size F or 5 crochet hook. And if you haven't already, then please check out the precursor to this video, and that is my How to Crochet a Beanie Brim. And I will link to that video in the description. And for that video, I crocheted a brim that is 8 stitches deep and roughly 16 inches wide. And I went ahead and joined the two edges of my brim like I showed you how to do in that video. And from here, I'm just going to turn my brim inside out. And I went ahead and sectioned my brim off into 4 equal parts, and that is just so that when we place our stitches around the brim, that we can try to place them as evenly as possible. So from here, what we're going to do is chain 1. And then we're going to place a single crochet in one of the loops behind that chain 1 stitch. And since we don't have any traditional stitches, you're just going to have to insert your crochet hook in the available loops, just like that. And that's going to be our first crisscross stitch. So from here, I'm going to skip my next loop and dive right into that next loop, and I'm going to place a single crochet. And then I'm going to work back in my skipped loop right here and place another single crochet. And there we've created a second crisscross stitch. So that's going to be our pattern for the entire row. We're basically just going to be placing these crisscross stitches going all the way along our row. So as far as the count goes, we're looking for 45 crisscross stitches or 90 single crochets. So I'm going to place 11 crisscross stitches in my first 3 sections, and then I'm going to place 12 in my last section. And once you've placed your 44 crisscross stitches, it should look something like this. And from here, we're going to place a slip stitch in the top of our chain 1 stitch. And so from here, we're going to chain 2. And then all we're going to do is just place a single crochet in the stitch directly behind our chain 2 stitch, so right here. And then moving forward, we're going to skip our next stitch and we're going to dive right into our next stitch after that, so right here. And then we're going to place our single crochet in our skipped stitch back here. And that's going to be our pattern for the entire row. So we're going to skip our next stitch and place a single crochet, and then place a single crochet in that skipped stitch. So go ahead and repeat that going all the way around your row. And when you get to the end of your row, it should look like this. And if you get to the end of your row and you notice that your chain 2 stitch is extremely buried and it's really hard to get to, don't worry about it. Just slip stitch into your first single crochet stitch, chain 2 again, and then what you're going to do is instead of placing your single crochet in this stitch directly behind your chain 2, you're going to place it in that slip stitch. So just like that. So either way is fine, whether you want to slip stitch into your chain 2 and then place your single crochet in the stitch, or if you just want to slip stitch into your single crochet and then place your single crochet in the slip stitch behind it. Whatever works best for you and makes the pattern work easier, it will be fine either way. So from here, we're just going to repeat that last row over and over and over again to build the body of our beanie. And I went ahead and crocheted 19 rows following that crisscross pattern. And now I'm going to start to decrease, so I'm going to chain 2 and I'm going to place a single crochet in that slip stitch. And that's going to count as my first regular crisscross stitch. And so now I'm going to place 2 more regular crisscross stitches. So now we have 3 regular crisscross stitches. So to place a decreasing crisscross, what you're going to do is skip this next stitch and then insert your crochet hook up underneath that next stitch and yarn over and pull through. Then up underneath the next stitch and yarn over and pull through. Then yarn over and drop all 3 loops on your crochet hook. And then you're just going to place your single crochet in that skipped stitch. And that's going to be our pattern for the entire row. So we're going to place 3 regular crisscross stitches and then a decreasing crisscross stitch. And when you get to the end of your row, you should have a total of 40 crisscross stitches or 80 single crochets. And when you get to the end of your row, you're either going to slip stitch into your chain stitch or your single crochet stitch, whichever you've been doing. Chain 2 and then place your single crochet in the stitch behind that. And the pattern for this row is going to be to place 2 regular crisscross stitches and then a decrease, and then 3 regular crisscrosses and a decrease. And so you're just going to follow that alternating pattern going all the way around your row. And when you get done, you should have a total of 70 single crochets or 35 crisscross stitches. And again, at the end of your row, you're just going to place your slip stitch wherever you've been placing it, chain 2, and then again place your single crochet in that slip stitch or the stitch behind it. And the pattern for this row is going to be to place 2 regular crisscross stitches and then a decreasing. And you're just going to repeat that going all the way around your row, and when you get done, you should have a total of 60 stitches or 30 crisscross stitches. And the pattern for the next row is just going to be to place 1 regular crisscross stitch and then a decreasing, and then 2 regular crisscross stitches and a decreasing. And you're just going to follow that alternating pattern going all the way around your row, and when you get done, you should have a total of 50 single crochets or 25 crisscross stitches. And the pattern for the next row is going to be to place 1 regular crisscross stitch and then a decreasing. And you're just going to repeat that going all the way around your row, and when you get done, you should have a total of 40 single crochets or 20 crisscross stitches. And the pattern for this row is going to be to place 1 regular crisscross stitch and then 2 decreasing crisscross stitches. And you're just going to repeat that going all the way around your row, and when you get done, you should have a total of 30 stitches or 15 crisscross stitches. And the pattern for this next row is going to be to place only decreasing crisscrosses. So for this one, what we're going to do is we're going to skip whatever stitch we've been working in and dive into the stitch directly behind that for our first crisscross stitch. And then from here, we're just going to place only decreasing crisscrosses. And we're actually going to repeat that for multiple rows until the hole at the top of our beanie becomes very, very small. And once the hole at the top of your beanie is very small, then you can just insert your crochet hook in a stitch on the opposite side of that hole and pull through for a slip stitch. And any other remaining gaps, you can just close up with your slip stitches. And then from here, we're going to cut and tie off our yarn. And in the description, I will link to my DIY pom-pom maker. Please let me know in the comments below if you experienced any issues while you were making this, and I will do my best to help you out. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel, Lipstick on a Rig. Thank you so much for working with me, and I hope you have a wonderful, awesome day.